Exclusive contracted novel by Feilu Novel Network. 3 Kingdoms. Me, Emperor Wei of Great Wei, loyalty, righteousness, and pure virtue. Cao Ang, who traveled through the Battle of Wancheng, decisively said no to the fate of being trapped and refused to be an honest person. The awakening of the Eternal One Emperor system. The treacherous version, in this treacherous 3 Kingdoms, begins the path of being an inner villain and displaying loyalty and righteousness. Is LV Bu dead in Baimen Tower? Let's follow the public security heart. I, Cao Ang, am a kind-hearted person. I will take care of your wife and daughter on my own. Liu Bei's lack of familiarity in raising him, and killing him harms his reputation as a virtuous person. What is the relationship between Liu Bei being killed by Yuan Shao and my honest man Caoang Guan Yu and Zhao Yun suffer the loss of their lord? I, Cao Ang, am a person of benevolence and righteousness, and it is my duty to take in an unknown general. Boss Cao, a good wife. Caoang said. Father is too old to work hard, let me go, who makes me Caoang filial. Cao Cao. My son, the whole world has been unified by our father and son. As a father, I was born as a Han minister and cannot bear the name of usurpation. I will become King Wen of Zhou, and you will take the throne. Cao Ang. I, Cao Ang, am loyal, righteous, and pure. How can I be a usurper? Father, it's getting cold. Isn't it too much to add a yellow robe to you? Cao Cao. The rebellious son harmed me. Everyone knows that Cao Cao is treacherous, but they don't know that my son is 100 times more treacherous than me. Feilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Xia Invitation, Traveling Through Caoang, People in Wancheng. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the 2nd year of Han Jianan, 197 AD, in January. Outside Wancheng, there is a large camp of the Cao army. Cao Ang suddenly woke up, feeling a hangover after getting drunk. Looking at the unfamiliar furnishings in front of me like ancient military tents, I looked bewildered and said, didn't I get hit by the car that ran the red light? Where is this? Is it a hospital? The cold wind at night blew in through the crack in the tent door, instantly dispelling the alcohol smell in the tent, making Cao Ang's mind clear a bit, and a memory flooded into his mind. This is the Cao army camp in Wancheng in the 2nd year of Jianan. I crossed over and became Cao Ang, the eldest son of Cao Cao. Cao Ang, who had accepted his memory, muttered to himself, feeling a bit confused for a moment. His real name is also Cao Ang, but he is not Cao Ang of this era, but a young man from the 21st century. Cao Ang received a complete modern education and joined a very good company as soon as he graduated. I am preparing to showcase my ambitions and become the CEO to marry Bai Fumei, embarking on the pinnacle of my life. But on the first day of work, I was hit by a car that ran a red light and flew away. Then, after more than 1800 years of soul-piercing, he arrived at the end of the Han dynasty and became Cao Ang, the son of Cao Cao. The honest and unlucky person in history who was tricked to death by his father Cao Cao. As a history enthusiast, he naturally knows that his original identity in history, Cao Ang, died in the Battle of Wancheng. At the end of the Yuan dynasty in Jianan, Zhang Xiu joined forces with Liu Biao, the governor of Jingzhou, and stationed troops in Wancheng, intending to invade Shudu. On the side of Cao Cao's bed, how can others sleep soundly? So he personally led his army to conquer Zhang Xiu without even leaving the first month of the 2nd year of Jianan. Zhang Xiu saw the great power of Cao Cao's army and, on the advice of his advisor Jia Xu, requested surrender from Cao Cao. At this time, Cao Cao's army had not yet arrived at Wancheng. They had just arrived at Yushui and learned that Zhang Xiu would surrender without fighting. Cao Cao was quite happy. In order to show his trust in the people who came to surrender, show his broad-minded spirit to the world, and consider saving military food transportation losses, he stationed the main force of the army in the area of Wuyin City, nearly 200 miles away from Wancheng. Cao Cao brought his own troops to Wancheng to surrender. Although Cao Cao only brought a small number of troops to surrender, Zhang Xiu sincerely surrendered, so everything went smoothly during the surrender. But unfortunately, Cao Cao found it difficult to change his old habits and fell in love with Zhang Xiu's aunt, Zhou Shi. Incorporate the surviving Zhou family into the tent to serve as a pillow. Wearing a green hat for Zhang Ji, the deceased uncle of Zhang Xiu. Zhang Ji and Zhang Xiu come from the Zhang family in Wuwei County, and are a wealthy family in Liangzhou. They need face recognition. Auntie was slept by Cao Cao, and her ancestral tomb was glowing green. No one could bear it. So Zhang Xiu conspired with Jia Xu to rebel against Cao Cao and launch a surprise attack on his camp. Calculating the time, it's almost tonight. According to historical records, when Zhang Xiu attacked Cao's camp at night, Caoang saw Cao Cao's warhorse Juing hit an arrow, so he gave his mount to Cao Cao and walked to the rear guard. In the end, he was caught up by Zhang Xiu's rebel army because he couldn't run fast without a warhorse, and died with his cousin Cao Ang in the chaos of the army. That is to say, if there were no accidents, Caoang would have just crossed over tonight and would be burping his, but again there were so many slots that Caoang didn't know how to roast. How could it be that Caoang, who was about to be tricked to death by his father, finally made it through this journey? Even if it's crossing through Caoang, it's better to wear it earlier, at least a few days before the Battle of Wancheng. So that Caoang can be prepared to avoid the tragedy of being killed in the Battle of Wancheng. No, it's not possible. I've had a hard time crossing the river. I can't die. I'm not as foolish and filial as my original self Caoang. I'll give my horse to my son's father. I didn't manage my pants and belt properly, but I ended up killing my eldest son and senior general. It's nobody's left at this point. While Caoang roast, his mind also turned quickly and began to think about how to survive. After all, Zhang Xiu's ambush is probably outside Cao's camp at this moment. Alas, it's all because Cao Cao was too reckless. In order to show his tolerance, he left the main force of the army in Wuyin, 200 miles away. At this moment, there are fewer troops around him than Zhang Xiu. This is also the main reason why in history, Zhang Xiu attacked Cao Ang at night. Cao Cao first led his army to face the battle, but was defeated by Zhang Xiu. Then, he left Dian Wei behind and rode away on his own horse. Caoang muttered to himself in his heart, first dispelling the idea of exposing Zhang Xiu's conspiracy and organizing troops to deal with Zhang Xiu's attack on the camp. At this moment, outside the city of Wancheng, there are fewer soldiers from the Cao army and more soldiers from Zhang Xiu. Moreover, the troops under Zhang Xiu's command were one of the Western Yang soldiers of Dongzhuo's former army. The soldiers of Xiliang are brave and skilled in battle, making them the cutting edge of the world. Their combat effectiveness is not weaker than that of the Cao army. And Zhang Xiu himself is not an incompetent person. He once studied marksmanship and martial arts under Tong Yuan, and was Zhao Yun's senior brother, equally skilled in martial arts. The name of Zhang Xiu, the king of firearms in the north, has moved all directions. Jia Xu, the strategist of Zhang Xiu, was the last strategist to laugh at in the Three Kingdoms, known as the Poison Warrior. Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu conspired, coupled with the bravery of the Western Yang army. Even if the Cao army hastily prepared for battle at this moment, they could not escape being defeated. Moreover, Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu are not fools either. Once there is any movement within the Cao camp, they will immediately launch an attack, not giving the Cao army a chance to respond. So, pretend nothing happened and I'll ride my horse and run away first, not giving Cao Cao a chance to pit his son. Anyway, once Zhang Xiu attacks the camp, Cao's camp will fall into chaos, and no one will care about anyone thinking of this. Caoang shook his head. He cannot die, but even more so, the cheap father Cao Cao cannot die. Chapter 2. The Eternal Emperor System, or the Fierce Hero version. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. At this time, Cao Ang was 20.1 years old. Although he was already an adult, his foundation was insufficient. Once Cao Cao dies, with Cao Ang's qualifications and foundation, it is difficult to control his old subordinates. Not to mention anything else, those soldiers from Qingzhou are enough for Cao Ang to drink a pot. In history, Wancheng was defeated, and Cao Cao only fled in a hurry. Before he died, the soldiers of Qingzhou rebelled and plundered everywhere. The main general Xiahou Dun couldn't control himself and still relied on forbidden soldiers to suppress it. If Cao Cao really died, the soldiers of Qingzhou would be even more lawless and would not listen to Cao Ang. It is even possible that Cao Ang was tied up to submit a petition, to submit to any feudal lord such as Yuan Shao and Yuan Shu. Among the strategists, Sun Yu was more loyal to the Han family than to the Cao family. Once Cao Cao died, Sun Yu would not assist a rootless Cao Ang. Although the military strategist Guo Jia was a devilish strategist, he was only recommended by Sun Yu to join Cao Cao's account in the first year of Jianan last year. He had been working for less than a year, so his loyalty may not be lacking. Guo Jiaban was under Yuan Shao's command, and only then joined Cao Cao when he saw that Yuan Shao was unable to assist. Once Cao Cao dies, compared to Yuan Shao, Cao Ang, the successor, has no family background or qualifications. Guo Jia even looks down on Yuan Shao, let alone the current Cao Ang. Behind the strategists, there are also their own families, and serving the feudal lords is already an investment of the aristocratic family. Once Cao Cao dies, these strategists and aristocratic families will each scatter to search for another master. Moreover, the territory of the Cao family is surrounded by strong enemies. To the north, there are Yuan Shaoxiong occupying several provinces such as Jizhou, Gongsun Zanhu occupying Yuzhou, and Gongsun Du occupying Liaodong. These are all powerful feudal lords. To the south, there are more than 10 Western Liang forces, including Lu Bu from Shuzhou, Yuan Shu from Huainan, and Lu Biao from Jingzhou, and Ma Tang and Han Sui from Guangzhou. These are just the vassals with names, not including the Mount Taishan bandits Zhang Ba, Baibo bandits, Heishan bandits Zhang Yan and many other remaining yellow scarves. It can be imagined that once Cao Cao dies in Wancheng, his power will instantly disintegrate. Perhaps some of the loyal advisors and generals under his command will stay to assist Cao Ang, but more will switch to other camps. It's like after the death of Sun Jian, a fierce tiger from Jiangdong, his subordinates scattered and mostly returned to Yuan Shu. Sun Tzu, who is only 17 years old, has no foundation and can only rely on Yuan Shu to live a life of dependence. Yuan Shao, LV Bu, Yuan Shu, and others, although each has their own shortcomings, which of them is a simple figure who can become famous in this era? Even Cao Cao had to put in a lot of effort to deal with those guys, let alone the young Cao Ang. Even if Yuan Shu, Lu Bu, and others are unbearable, dealing with Cao Ang will be a matter of holding hands. At this moment, Liu Bei, who had been taken away from Shuzhou by LV Bu and temporarily joined the Cao Cao camp, was afraid that he would not be willing to be lonely and seize the opportunity to cause trouble. In simple terms, Cao Cao cannot die. Under the encirclement of tigers and wolves, without Cao Cao, Cao Ang could not hold the place. After much thought, it finally made Cao Ang think of the only way out, which was to meet Cao Cao now and inform Zhang Xiu of his intention to rebel. Then let the deceased wear Cao Cao's armor and leave it in the tent to confuse Zhang Xiu, while Cao Ang and Cao Cao changed into the armor of ordinary soldiers. When Zhang Xiu attacked the camp, she took advantage of the chaos and disguised herself as a defeated soldier to escape. Zhang Xiu's target is Cao Cao, so she will definitely rush towards the Central Army's tent as soon as possible. By the time he discovered that the Central Army's Cao Cao was fake, Cao Ang and Cao Cao had already run away. Moreover, even Cao Cao's mount, Zhuiying, cannot be ridden. In the Battle of Wancheng in history, famous horses like Zhuiying were shot from the beginning, indicating that Zhang Xiu had been wary of Cao Cao's escape from the beginning and focused on Cao Cao's mount. If you ride on the Juying, you will definitely be exposed by Zhang Xiu's disguise. It can be said that changing clothes and leaving is currently a way to save the lives of both Cao Cao and Caoang. However, in this way, the soldiers in this camp are still inevitably suffering heavy casualties, and even the entire army will be destroyed. These are all the foundations of the Cao family, and if possible, Caoang wouldn't come up with such a plan. But in the crisis of life and death, Caoang can only rewrite his own destiny first, without considering anything else. At most, it would be to secretly inform Dian Wei and let him know the truth. As long as Zhang Xiu's rebel army is stopped for a moment, they will withdraw, and there is no need to blindly defend to protect this general. Alas, other travelers have systems. It would be great if I had systems too. Just give me a big opening gift package or something, kill and defeat Zhang Xiu, this way we can also protect these soldiers who started with the Cao family. This is the foundation for the future competition for the world. Caoang let out a sigh of regret in his heart. Ding, your system has been credited, please check your account carefully. At this moment, an electronic prompt sounded in his mind, which immediately made Cao Ang's face happy. Speaking of the system arrives. The standard configuration for the traveler, although late, arrives. Caoang immediately calmed down and began to check and tidy up his system. Considering that the host's original body was tricked to death due to being too honest in history, and could not wait to become emperor. Therefore, this system is called the Eternal One Emperor System, Evil Hero Edition, and its purpose is not to be an honest person. It is better to teach me to harm the people of the world than to teach them to harm me. Intended to help the host become a qualified traitor and achieve the reputation of a timeless emperor. By calculating characters from the late Han and Three Kingdoms periods, the host can generate negative emotions such as anger, fear, resentment, and despair in others, which can lead to corresponding negative energy points. With negative energy points, reward blind boxes can be extracted from the system to randomly obtain various rewards. At present, there are 3 types of reward blind boxes, and 1,000 negative energy points can draw bronze blind boxes. 10,000 negative energy points can draw a silver blind box. 100,000 negative energy points can be used to extract a golden blind box. The higher the level of blind boxes, the greater the probability of winning, and the higher the quality of rewards. Note: the higher the popularity of a character, the more negative energy points they gain. Looking at the introduction on the system page, Cao Ang's lips curved into a smile and said, I really like the quality of the system. Getting negative emotions from others to extract rewards is just getting stronger by deceiving others. Perhaps the original Caoang couldn't do such a thing, but the traveler Caoang knew what kind of era the Three Kingdoms period was during the end of Han Dynasty. Fraudulent and deceitful, deceitful and deceitful, honest people cannot survive at all. If you don't deceive people, you will be tricked to death. Of course, on the surface, this era still respects values such as benevolence, righteousness, loyalty, and filial piety. Except for Cao Cao, a strange person who unleashes himself, no one will actively admit to being a traitor. They are all deceiving and scheming behind the scenes, yet openly proclaiming loyalty, filial piety, benevolence, and righteousness from me. Even with this system, Caoang would not be as arrogant as Cao Cao, but would pit others while maintaining his image of loyalty, filial piety, and purity. After all, to become an eternal emperor, one still needs to care about some reputation. Of course, this is all about the future. Putting aside his thoughts, Caoang scrolled through the system introduction and arrived at the personal panel. Chapter 3. Tianpeng Battle Method. Let me kill Zhang Xiu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Host: Caoang. Age: 21 years old. Force: 85 Strategy: 90 Politics: 88 Commander-in-Chief: 75 Charm: 80 Current Negative Energy Point: 0. Looking at the host information on the personal panel, Caoang remained relatively calm. The original body was carefully trained by Cao Cao from a young age, studying in spring and summer, and hunting in autumn and winter. Although its physical strength is relatively good, it cannot reach the level of a fierce general. Strategy 90 is mainly related to Cao Ang's own insights. As a person who has received modern education, has a passion for history, and has been involved in various post-bar forums for years, Caoang also has some understanding of the political strategies in history. Politics 88 is similar to strategy. In later forums, there are numerous posts analyzing the internal affairs and economy of different dynasties. Caoang has never eaten pork and has also seen pig runs. As for the commander-in-chief and charm, they are somewhat lacking, only mediocre. Mainly because Caoang has just debuted and has too little experience, it is still difficult to convince others. Of course, with the system in place, these attributes will definitely have the opportunity to improve. System, won't you send a grand opening gift package? Zhang Xiu may rob the camp at any time, and now she doesn't have time to deceive people to earn energy points. Cao Ang's mind moved and he began to communicate with the system. Ding, considering the current situation of the host, a grand opening gift package is specially rewarded. The big gift package contains 3 gold-grade blind boxes. Please check it. Upon seeing the information from the system, Caoang also breathed a sigh of relief. I gave 3 golden blind boxes at the beginning, which gave me some confidence. Time was tight, and Cao Ang's mind twitched as he opened it all in one breath in the system. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the mount stepping on snowy Wuzhui horse. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the protective gear, golden silk soft hedgehog armor. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the skill, heavenly pony battle technique. When Caoang saw the first 2 rewards, he was quite happy. Stepping on the snow, the Wuzhui horse is of the highest quality among horses. Not only is it fast, but it also has the best jumping ability among all horses. For hooves fly like flying, treading on snow without a trace, even walking in valleys and abyss is like walking on flat ground. Xiang Yu, the hegemon of the Western Chu dynasty, and Wei Qigong, the fierce general of the Sui and Tang dynasties, all have the bloodline of riding the snowy stepping Wuzhui. The Bawang once rode a Wuzhui horse and killed the 10-sided ambush of the military immortal Han Xian. Yu Qigong rode a snow-treading Wuzhui horse throughout his life, crisscrossing the battlefield without injury in 100 battles. Even if he was trapped alone in a tight encirclement, he could rescue Li Shimin and escape the encirclement. At least half of Li Shimin's Zhaoling's 6 steeds were killed by arrows on the battlefield, and Li Shimin himself was also injured by arrows in multiple places throughout his life. However, Yu Qigong not only remained unscathed in countless battles, but also had only one riding horse, the snow-stepping Black Shui, which shows the wonder of this horse. The 6 horses of Zhaoling combined are not as good as a single Black Shui treading on the snow. It can be said that on the battlefield, riding on a snowy black horse, the enemy can never get close. Even if used to escape, it can easily carry the owner out of the encirclement. Looking at this era, compared to Lu Bu's Red Rabbit and Cao Cao's peerless figure, Wuzhui Ma is definitely not weak. With this Wuzhui horse, even if Caoang gave up his original mount to Cao Cao tonight, as in history, he could still summon the snowy stepping Wuzhui horse and run away with him. For a warrior, a mount is no different from a mediocre life. Therefore, when Lu Bu received the Red Rabbit horse gifted by Dongzhuo, he did not hesitate to chop off the old owner Ding Yuan for the sake of a horse. And the Wuzhui horse is a bit better than the Lu Bu Red Rabbit horse. With this mount, Caoang felt at ease in his heart. A life-saving trump card, that's it. Immediately after, Caoang looked at the second reward, the golden soft hedgehog armor. In the world of martial arts, the golden hedgehog armor is the treasure of Peach Blossom Island. It is woven from a mixture of gold thread and millennium vine branches, not only impervious to knives and guns, but also capable of defending even the internal power of the fists and palms. Used in battle formations, it can not only defend against sharp weapons such as knives, guns, and arrows, but also withstand the impact of blunt weapons. It can be said that wearing this armor, it is easy to be unscathed in battles. And the golden soft hedgehog armor produced by the system also adds celestial silk, making it more resistant to water and fire. Moreover, this armor is lightweight and soft, different from heavy iron armor that often weighs tens of pounds. Wearing it is not burdensome, and it is even like wearing a sweater, with protection that cannot be compared to those heavy iron armor. Moreover, the golden soft hedgehog armor, which originally only had the upper body, has been systematically produced, and even the lower body armor is now available, just like a sweater, which can be directly worn inside the outer robe, covering the entire body and providing unparalleled defense. With this golden soft hedgehog armor, coupled with the snow-treading black horse, the speed and defense have been fully increased. Not to mention Zhang Xiu, even with the arrival of Lu Bu in his heyday, it would be difficult to harm Cao Ang. Cao Ang was very satisfied with both of these treasures, so he turned to the third one, the Tianpeng battle technique. At first glance at the introduction, Cao Ang almost froze. Originally, when Cao Ang saw the method of fierce combat, he thought it must be a peerless killing move in the battlefield. After all, the above two rewards, one is an acceleration mount and the other is a defensive armor. In theory, the third reward should be an attack. In other novels, the beginning is either for the host's domineering power, or for the domineering marksmanship or the unparalleled marksmanship and swordsmanship of famous generals. As a result, this system did not play cards according to common sense and gave Cao Ang a Tianpeng fierce battle strategy. It sounds impressive, but it has nothing to do with fighting in battle. This Tianpeng battle technique is the exclusive secret technique of Marshal Zhu Beiji in Journey to the West. It is just an application scenario and a different type of battlefield. In Journey to the West, the four saints led by the mother of Li Shan transformed into four mothers and daughters, testing the character of Tang Monk and his disciples under the guise of inviting sun.in.law. Zhu Beiji was about to wrap up all four of his mother and daughter, and confidently said to them, not to mention having 3 wives and 4 concubines, just a few more, I'll accept it. I also learned a method of enduring battles in my childhood, and disciplined everyone she served with joy. He is so confident because he has mastered the method of fierce combat. The so-called fierce battle, staying up, means prolonged combat, and the Tianpeng fierce battle method is a skill that allows him to fight non-stop, struggle continuously, and use yin and yang to supplement the strength of the Vietnam War on another battlefield. Speaking of which, it is indeed a fascinating skill. For the imperial generals and ministers of the Marquis of Rilly, if they could obtain this method, not only would they not be emptied by alcohol and lust, but they would even become stronger and younger. If Cao Ang is unhappy about obtaining this skill, it is fake. As the son of Cao Cao, Cao Ang naturally wants to inherit the legacy of Wei Wu from Cao Cao. With this fierce battle method, Cao Ang doesn't have to worry about being hollowed out in the future. Have you not seen Lu Bu, the top general of the Han dynasty and the 3 kingdoms, all haggard due to his drunkenness and lust? Gimu Guojia is the same. Guojia is good at everything, but he is obsessed with alcohol and sex, and dissolves his form. So much so that his body was hollowed out by alcohol and sex, he was weak and sickly, and in the original history, he died of illness at the age of 38. It can be said that with this fierce battle method, even if Cao Ang sang every night, he would become the strongest man in the 3 kingdoms. However, even if we rely on this to become stronger, that will be a later story. Now that Cao Ang has been given this skill, he doesn't have a chance to use it either. What Cao Ang needs now is the tyrannical marksmanship or the killing power of LV Bu or Zhao Yun to deal with Zhang Xiu. But the system gave him this fierce battle method. Should he use this battle method to stab Zhang Xiu to death? Ding, negative energy from the host +1, invalid, system automatically recovers. The sound of the system sounded in my mind. It was Cao Ang's roast about the system, which was recognized by the system as negative energy. However, one's own negative energy is useless to oneself and is directly recovered by the system. Speaking of recycling, Caoang looked at the system as if he had happily swallowed it. In addition, the system's addiction was to collect negative energy, and Caoang suddenly felt that the system might have intentionally given himself this day's fierce battle method to collect his negative energy. This dog system is indeed very bad. There is a way to save my life, but there is no way to kill. It seems that if I want to break the situation, I still need to rely on myself. Although the system is good, it is ultimately just an aid. Caoang said in his heart that he could run away at any time because of his powerful means to protect his life, but he didn't have to think about running away without fighting. With confidence in his heart, Caoang could calm down and think about ways to break the situation. The next moment, Cao Ang's eyes lit up and he really had a clever plan. Chapter 4. Empty Camp Strategy, Trick of the Three Kingdoms. Jia Xu, the First Poisonous Scholar. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. Cao Ang's eyes lit up and he immediately had an idea. Our own troops are empty, while the enemy is strong and strong, facing the city, which reminds him of the famous empty city strategy. During the Three Kingdoms period, Zhuge Liang's troops marched out of Mount Qi, but due to Ma Su's loss of the strategic location of Jieding, he had to choose to retreat. At that time, Zhuge Liang was in the western city, and the main force of the army had their own tasks not by their side. The western city only had over 2,000 troops and horses. But Sima Yi led a force of 150,000 Wei soldiers to the city. In a state of urgency, Zhuge Liang took advantage of Sima Yi's suspicious personality, opened the city gate, and climbed up to the city to play the qin. Sima Yi saw that the city gate was wide open and Zhuge Liang was playing the piano so calmly. He felt that there must be an ambush in the city, so he dared not enter the city and hastily retreated. Of course, there is also a theory that Sima Yi saw through Zhuge Liang's empty city plan, but he also knew the truth of killing a rabbit and cooking a dog in his heart, so he let Zhuge Liang off his horse to raise bandits and respect himself. The tacit understanding between the two parties is based on this. Regardless of the explanation, it does not affect that the empty city plan is a clever strategy to survive in a crisis. At this moment, Chao's camp is empty, like Zhuge Liang in the western city. Zhang Xiu has many brave generals and is about to attack the camp, just like Sima Yi facing the city. At this time, whether the Cao army launched an attack to confront Zhang Xiu's army or retreated on defense, it was inevitable that they would engage in battle and inevitably result in defeat. But if the strategy of using an empty city is adopted, opening the camp door and waiting for the empty camp, it may make Zhang Xiu feel strange and afraid to advance. Even if Zhang Xiu is a martial artist, she doesn't know how to manipulate power. But Jia Xu, who was by Zhang Xiu's side, was a top strategist and the most poisonous warrior in the late Han and Three Kingdoms period. The reason why he is called a poison master is because Jia Xu's strategies are very ruthless and precise, and tend to be conspiracy-oriented. Either he does not come up with strategies, and once he offers them, there is no time for failure. It is precisely because Jia Xu is skilled in conspiracy that he thinks more. The empty city strategy may not be effective for ordinary warriors and barbarians, but it often achieves the effect of being deceived by intelligence when it comes to clever people like Jia Xu, who have many ulterior motives. After all, in the eyes of the world, Cao Cao, the commander-in-chief of the Cao army, is a cunning and cunning traitor. So, if he opened the camp gate and waited for the empty camp, Jia Xu would inevitably think a little more, thinking that Cao Cao might have some conspiracy, and advised Zhang Xiu not to attack rashly. Of course, just this is not a foolproof solution. Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu may send a forward to test the reality, so some details are needed to assist. Make sure Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu believe that Cao Jun is prepared for a conspiracy. By the way, Hu Chai'er. If Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu want to fall into the trap, Hu Chai'er is the key. In an instant, Caoang thought of Huchayer. He had learned about the official history of the three kingdoms and knew that after Cao Cao arrived in Wancheng, he not only took in Zhang Xiu's aunt, the Zhou family, but also highly valued the general Huchayer under Zhang Xiu's command. After all, in his lifetime, Cao Cao not only liked other people's wives, but also their fierce generals. Huchayer was a fierce general in the Western Liang army, and Cao Cao also valued him. During his time in Wancheng, Cao Cao often invited Huchayer to banquets and rewarded him with a lot of gold and silk goods. One of the reasons why Zhang Xiu decided to betray Huchayer was that she treated her so generously but was inferior to Zhang Xiu. Because Zhang Xiu was afraid that Cao Cao was trying to bribe Huchayer to harm her, and she was not genuinely willing to surrender. Coincidentally, Huchayer only accepted Cao Cao's banquet today and stayed in Cao's camp to rest because he got drunk. Cao Ang was also present at the time. Cao Ang, who was originally an honest child with a loyal and righteous personality, couldn't bear to see his father take in Zhang Ji's widow and couldn't express it clearly, so he felt depressed in his heart. Today at the banquet, I drank too much alcohol to vent my anger. Unexpectedly, I drank too much and died suddenly in the tent. It was only then that Cao Ang, a descendant, crossed over. The history he knew and his original memories confirmed the fact that Huchayer was currently in Cao camp for Cao Ang. Although it is different from the romance of the Three Kingdoms, this is the true fact. The romance of the Three Kingdoms is 7 parts true and 3 parts false, and is correct in major events, but some details may have story processing. For example, in the Battle of Wancheng, Zhang Xiu asked Huchayer to invite Dian Wei to drink and secretly stole Dian Wei's weapons, which is a fabrication of the story. Dian Wei was a close attendant general of Cao Cao. When Cao Cao entertained Zhang Xiu, it was always Dian Wei holding a large axe standing behind Cao Cao, glaring angrily at everyone who drank with Cao Cao. Carrying the heavy responsibility of protecting the Lord, Dian Wei almost never left his post. How could he leave his post without permission and accept the banquet of surrendering generals? According to his original memory, Dian Wei is currently guarding outside Cao Cao's central army tent. Although different from the romance story, the difference is generally not significant. For example, although Huchayer was invited and rewarded by Cao Cao, she remained loyal to Zhang Xiu in her heart. The success of Zhang Xiu's attack on the Cao camp in history is closely related to Huchayer's role as an insider in the Cao camp. It can be said that the success or failure of Cao Ang's empty camp plan lies with Huchayer. That's right, Cao Ang wanted to use Huchayer as an insider to release false information to Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu, forging a false impression that the Cao army had ambushes and wanted to counter them, forcing Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu to retreat on their own. And Cao Ang also came up with a solution. Today at the banquet, Huchayer, a drunken Western Liang man, was fake drunk, but Cao Ang really drank too much, and Huchayer also saw it. As long as Cao Ang pretends to be drunk and can't stop talking, and inadvertently leaks false information in front of others, Huchayer will surely believe it and find a way to pass on the message to Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu. Having made up his mind, Cao Ang immediately stood up to implement it. As soon as Cao Ang got up, his body shook and he almost fell. Just as he lay down, he felt a splitting headache. Cao Ang thought he was a sequela of being hit by a car, but now it seems that his original body Cao Ang did drink too much. Taking a deep breath, Cao Ang began to operate the Tianpeng battle technique, which was originally a means of controlling his own qi and blood circulation through endless battles. At this moment, Cao Ang is neglecting his duties and using it to accelerate his own qi and blood circulation, and decompose the alcohol qi. Quickly, Cao Ang decomposed most of his alcohol aura, regaining absolute clarity and control over his hands and feet. But he still left a hint of drunkenness on his face, and he still pretended to be drunk, making it appear real. I saw Cao Ang let in the guards outside the tent, put on his coat, and then walked out of the tent. Although he has materialized the golden hedgehog armor and worn it in his own robe, even without iron armor, it is still impenetrable. But when it comes to acting, it's only when you put on armor that you feel like you're ready for battle. Moreover, the existence of the golden silk soft hedgehog armor is Cao Ang's life-saving trump card. Caoang doesn't want anyone to know, including his physical father Cao Cao. Being hidden and not revealing is also one of the essential elements for being a traitor. After leaving the camp, the situation became urgent and Caoang did not report to Cao Cao. He went straight to the back door of the camp. The tent where General Hu Chair, a subordinate of Zhang Xiu, stayed overnight is also located nearby. Chapter 5 Jia Xu. In my opinion, Cao Ang is a loyal and kind person. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. See you, young master. The soldiers guarding the back door, upon seeing Cao Ang's arrival, immediately joined forces to pay homage. This commotion also caught the attention of Hu Chair in the nearby camp. Hu Chair was originally Zhang Xiu's insider, not really drunk, but remained sober and ready to fight out of the camp to support Zhang Xiu. At this moment, hearing the commotion outside, I immediately held my breath and quietly opened a gap in the tent door. It's already late at night, and the young master is not resting in the tent. Why did he come here? The on-duty general looked puzzled and asked Cao Ang. Shu, speak quietly and don't speak up. Cao Ang deliberately said this, and then in front of the soldiers on duty at the back door, he pretended to be drunk and said, send an order to open the locking bolts of the front and back doors of the camp, and then cover them up. The soldiers on duty from both gates, go find a place to sleep. The on-duty general, seeing that Cao Ang was still drunk, issued such an unusual order. Although he knew the identity of the young master Cao Ang, he still wondered, why did the young master give such an order to open the camp gate late at night and leave his post without permission? This is not in accordance with military law. Besides, I dare not open the door without the order of my lord. The young master is a bit drunk. Let's go back to the camp and rest. The reaction of this general was within Cao Ang's expectations, and also made Cao Ang grateful that he did not run away alone. I personally give orders, and even a gatekeeper is not obedient, but only listens to the orders of Cao Cao's generals. It can be seen that Cao Ang, the young master, has no foundation in power, making it difficult to command others. But Cao Ang was not angry either. After all, this was supposed to happen, and the normal reaction of this general was also within Cao Ang's strategy. With the support of this general, Cao Ang can perform even better. Cao Ang continued, you may not be aware of it. This is exactly my father's order, it's just a secret order, so I was sent to convey it. Speaking, Cao Ang said with a drunken and uncontrollable demeanor, it doesn't matter if I tell you the reason behind it. Previously, Zhang Xiu requested to move the military camp and approach the Central Army, citing the reason that many of her soldiers had fled. Although the father agreed, he secretly guarded against any changes in Zhang Xiu. So, while temporarily stabilizing Zhang Xiu, someone was sent to convey orders to Marquis Dun and others to lead their troops to come, in case of any unexpected situation. In order to prevent Zhang Xiu from becoming suspicious, General Eugene and others stationed their troops 15 miles away. Now that we have received the exact news of the insider, Zhang Xiu's department has been mobilized and will attack our central army tonight. Therefore, my father secretly sent me here and ordered me to open the camp gate in order to receive the troops of the Forbidden Summer Marquis Dun. As soon as the Chinese army catches fire, it will be a signal to arrange for the ambush to surround Zhang Xiu. You must see clearly and not stop your own people, so I asked you to slack off and sleep, first to prevent blocking the wrong person later, and second to also numb Zhang Xiu. Let them know that the night watchers have been lazy and gone to sleep, so that they can come to attack the camp with peace of mind and catch all the rebels. Cao Ang's voice was not loud, but in the quiet military camp at night, he could still spread some distance, so it also made Hu Chair in the nearby camp listen to it for a long time. Immediately, Hu Chair's face changed. At this moment, Cao Ang added to the general, for this layout, my father specially invited Hu Chair, a fierce general under Zhang Xiu's command, to be personally led by me. I finally intoxicated him and took off Zhang Xiu's arm. It's best if you're really asleep, but don't make any mistakes and be noticed. When Cao Ang said this, although the gatekeeper seemed to think something was wrong, he did not doubt it. After all, what Cao Ang said was too reasonable, let alone that he was the eldest son of the Lord and their young master, and his identity was placed here. The Lord is unable to come in person, so it is reasonable to ask the young master to send a secret order. So the on-duty general immediately took orders and said, "Please rest assured, young master. I will be very careful when waiting." As he spoke, he was ordered to leave. After opening the latch on the back door, he dispersed and moved away from the village gate, finding a place to sleep. Even if you can't sleep, pretend to be asleep. And Cao Ang quickly left with a hint of alcohol. As Cao Ang left, Hu Chair looked heavy and said, "It turns out that Cao Cao had already figured out the plan to attack the camp, but secretly dispatched the main forces such as Eugene and Xiahodun. Today, he deliberately made Cao Ang drink with me, trying to make me drunk. No wonder Cao Ang is usually loyal and never drinks alcohol, but today he desperately drinks with me." The lies woven by Cao Ang are too real, linking all the things that have already happened together. Therefore, Hu Chair believed on the spot without any doubt. No, the Lord and General Jia Xu are not aware of it yet, they are afraid that they will secretly plan to attack the camp. This will inevitably fall into Cao Cao's scheme. I need to inform my lord immediately. Hu Chair, who was worried about being ambushed, didn't care what to do as an insider. Seeing the location of the back door, the soldiers on duty retreated according to Cao Ang's orders, without much thought. Even after leaving the camp, he dared not ride a horse and tiptoed to the hidden gate of the fortress. He opened a gap and ran into the darkness. In the darkness not far away, Cao Ang saw Hu Chair leave the village gate to report, and immediately smiled. After a moment, 3 miles outside Cao camp, Zhang Xiu, who was ambushed here preparing to attack the camp, met Hu Chair. "Hu Chair, how could you be here? Aren't you supposed to be an insider in the Cao camp?" Zhang Xiu said in great surprise when she saw Hu Chair return. Lord, please do not attack Cao camp." Cao Cao had been suspicious of the Lord for a long time. When the Lord asked to move the camp, he was suspicious. He secretly dispatched Eugene, Xiahodun and other main forces of the army to help him, and he lay in ambush 15 miles away. Once the Lord attacks the Cao camp, the Cao army will use fire as a signal to notify the ambush to come and surround. Within our army, there may already be an insider from the Cao army. Cao Jun has obtained information through insiders that the Lord is planning to attack the camp. I'm worried that the protagonist may fall for a trick without knowing, so I came to inform you. Hurry up and retreat, my lord. Hu Chair is truly the fierce general of the Western Liang army that Cao Cao was interested in. He ran 3 miles with both feet, only taking a little breath, and could still speak so many words in one fell swoop. This strength is beyond the comparison of ordinary people. On this side, Zhang Xiu's expression suddenly changed upon hearing Hu Chair's words, even Jia Xu beside her had a slight movement in his expression. "Mr. Wenhe, the thief Cao has already seen through my plan. What should we do? Do you want to retreat immediately?" Although Zhang Xiu did not have any strategic plans, she followed Jia Xu's advice and thus immediately turned her attention to him. "I don't even have the heart to investigate internal affairs. Even if I want to investigate at this moment, I have no time or clue." Jia Xu's expression returned to calm, and he didn't panic like Zhang Xiu did. Instead, he gently stroked his beard and said, "Cao Cao is cunning and skilled in politics. General whose words are not impossible. It's just that there's something fishy about this matter. General who found out such a secret, and I always feel that something is wrong. Therefore, there is also a possibility that Cao Cao sensed our plan, but there were few soldiers around him, so he deliberately designed to let General Hu detect false information, in order to use this as a counterplot and deceive the Lord to retreat. Jia Xu is truly the #1 poisonous warrior in the history of the Three Kingdoms. He quickly guessed the possible truth and guessed it accurately. The only difference is that I didn't guess that this strategy was not from Cao Cao, but from Cao Ang. But if it were true, wouldn't our army be trapped in a tight encirclement and completely annihilated? Zhang Xiu was not brainless, and she felt a bit worried in her heart. Previously, Zhang Xiu's decision to surrender without fighting is enough to indicate that she is not someone who enjoys adventure. Jia Xu let out a sigh and said, "Your Majesty is also right to worry. General Hu, please inform me one by one about how he learned about the news and the actions of the Cao army, so that I can analyze them." So Hu Cheer immediately spoke out everything she heard and saw. After hearing this, Jia Xu also put away his calm expression and slightly furrowed his brows. General Hu said that the messenger was Cao Ang, who was drinking with you at the banquet and wanted to make you drunk. Looking back, it is indeed abnormal. Cao Cao is cunning, but in my opinion, Cao Ang has a loyal and kind personality. If it weren't for Cao Cao's instructions, Cao Ang wouldn't have acted. Moreover, opening the camp gate is already a strategy to take risks. Once we don't believe it and launch an attack or probe, the Cao army will immediately know the truth. Cao Ang was the eldest son of Cao Cao and was deeply favored by him. Even this expedition was tempered by him, and he was already regarded as an heir to be cultivated. So Cao Cao would not put himself and his heirs in danger. With Cao Cao's caution and cunning, if there were no ambushes, he might have already fled with his eldest son at this moment. Instead of staying in the camp, this indicates that Cao Cao's ambush is very likely true. Jia Xu spoke slowly, dispelling many doubts upon hearing Cao Ang's name, believing that Cao Cao should indeed have an ambush. It can be seen that Cao Ang's usual loyalty and kindness are recognized even by Jia Xu, who has not been with him for a long time. However, Jia Xu would not have thought that Cao Ang, now with a different soul, was no longer the honest man Cao Ang. The prerequisites that Jia Xu believed were all false, so he naturally fell into the thinking trap that Cao Ang had dug for him. Chapter 6 Cao Ang. Zhang Xiu, come here. Zhang Xiu. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Alas, I thought I could attack and kill that Cao Cao tonight to avenge my aunt's humiliation. But I didn't expect to have already been exposed by that Cao Cao. It's really frustrating. Zhang Xiu felt very regretful when she saw that Jia Xu had said so. She suddenly drew her sword and plunged it into the ground, sighing angrily. Jia Xu saw Zhang Xiu's appearance. Although he did not regard her as the master, he only temporarily sheltered her as a shelter. But when it comes to the love for her fellow townspeople with Zhang Ji and Zhang Xiu, as well as Zhang Xiu's obedience and respect towards her, she also feels a bit unwilling for Zhang Xiu in her heart. After a moment of contemplation, Jia Xu spoke up and said, "If your lord is unwilling, you can let the army retreat for a distance and escape from the ambush circle set by the Cao army. Send a few more clever scouts to secretly approach the Cao army camp, observe the Cao army's movements, and then decide whether to attack or withdraw." Zhang Xiu was already unwilling, and upon seeing Jia Xu say so, she was immediately overjoyed. Wen He's words are very accurate. If you enter like this, you can inquire about the reality of Cao's army, and if you retreat, you can be prepared to evacuate at any time. It can be said that it is a win-win strategy. It can be seen that Zhang Xiu still has some lucky mentality in her heart. I hope Cao Jun is really bluffing, so that he can enter Cao's camp and seek revenge by killing Cao Cao. So Zhang Xiu immediately followed Jia Xu's plan, ordering the army to retreat while sending a few clever scouts to investigate. Hu Cheer also volunteered and said, "Lord, please let the last general go too. I came out of the Cao camp, and the Cao army should not have noticed. I am already a guest of Cao camp, so I can get closer to Cao camp to explore the reality and emptiness. Even if discovered, the last general can still be said to wake up at night and see the gate of the fortress open and unattended. He was worried about someone running away, so he kindly went to catch the deserters for Caoang. If the last one cannot come back, the Lord will quickly retreat. Although Hu Chao's name is ordinary and not as grand as those famous generals, he is still quite loyal. As soon as he left Cao camp, he took the initiative to take risks. Zhang Xiu was deeply moved and said, I have a loyal and righteous person like General Hu, not inferior to his Cao's authority. General Hu, be careful. At this moment, in the Cao camp. Since Hu Chao left, Caoang also called several scouts from the army and secretly followed up to inquire about the movements of Zhang Xiu's army. To prevent Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu from falling into the trap, it's better to plan ahead and reduce losses. Not long after, the scout came to report. Young master, Hu Chao has been a few miles away and has joined an ambush. We dare not get too close. But as the ambush several miles away began to retreat, Hu Chao brought a few scouts and secretly approached our military camp. I will let everyone else lurk in the wilderness to prevent exposure, so I will quickly come back and report. The scout's response made Cao Ang's face smile, and his last breath of tension in his heart also relaxed. Since Zhang Xiu has retreated, it indicates that Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu have already felt that there is an ambush, and most likely it is true. And let Hu Chao secretly touch it back, feeling unwilling and wanting to inquire again. Since that's the case, Caoang will accompany them to complete the trick. So Caoang returned to the gate of the village and pretended to be puzzled, saying, What's going on? Didn't it mean that Zhang Xiu was going to attack the camp tonight? Why hasn't she come yet? As he spoke, Caoang looked outside the village gate as if saying, Zhang Xiu, come here. At this moment, less than 100 steps outside the gate, Hu Chao was lying on the ground, watching the movement at the gate. He could see Cao Ang's figure faintly appearing under the torches, as if he was still in a hurry. This made Hu Chao feel relieved in his heart. Caoang can't wait anymore, it shows that the ambush is true. At this moment, Cao Ang's voice came from afar. Father has an order. If Zhang Xiujuan doesn't come after the deadline, there will be an accident to escape. We should quickly ignite the fire, use it as a signal, and notify General Eugene that they are coming to gather. You guys are waiting here to receive me. I'll go to the fire station prepared by the Central Army and light the signal. Upon hearing that Caoang was about to light a flame and ordered an ambush to surround her, Hu Chao's expression changed again. She quickly crawled back until she was far enough away from Cao's camp, and then quickly ran away. After running 3 miles away and riding on the horses left by Zhang Xiu, he caught up with Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu, who were slowly retreating, and said, Lord, the situation is not good. The Cao army cannot wait for the Lord to attack the camp, suspecting that there may be fraud inside. They are worried that the Lord will run away, and are ready to light a beacon fire and notify the ambush to surround. After listening to Hu Chao's words, Zhang Xiu felt regretful in her heart, but she couldn't care anymore and immediately exchanged a glance with Jia Xu. Seeing that Jia Xu also nodded, Zhang Xiu hurriedly shouted, Retreat, the whole army quickly retreats. At this moment, the outcome of the Battle of Wancheng was rewritten. At the same time, the main tent of the Cao army was located. Caoang arrived here, and his drunkenness had completely disappeared. Jian Wei pays respects to the young master. Why did the young master come here late at night? Jian Wei, who was on duty outside the Central Army tent, held a long halberd and stood straight like a door god. Seeing Caoang coming and wearing armor all over, he immediately spoke with confusion. Because Caoang used the secret order of the Lord as a reason, the personnel and horses mobilized were kept confidential, so Jian Wei and Cao Cao, who were stationed in the Central Army, still knew nothing at this moment. Caoang looked at Jian Wei and smiled, saying, I have something important to see my father. Please make way, General. Jian Wei frowned slightly and said, Well. Lord has already rested with Madame Zhou. He instructed me not to disturb Lord unless there is something very important. After listening to Jian Wei's words, Caoang inwardly slandered something very important. Is it very important to share a bed with Zhou? Looking at Jian Wei in front of him, and then lowering his head to look at himself who was still alive, Cao Ang's resentment towards Cao Cao, who was sleeping with Zhou Shi in the big tent at the moment, was not ordinary. If it weren't for his own cleverness in deceiving Jia Xu and Zhang Xiu by using empty camp tactics, I'm afraid Cao Cao would have been ambushed by Zhang Xiu, and he wouldn't even be able to wear his pants in a hurry, so he would have to run naked. And I, along with many soldiers such as Jian Wei and Cao Anmin, will die in the chaos of the army. The story of one shot harming the three sages will continue to unfold. Cao Cao, who had done so much and almost killed his son and general, still slept with the woman in his arms. Do you still have the face to sleep? Sleep like a fart. Caoang immediately turned to the edge of his gallbladder and said to Jian Wei, I have a matter of 10,000 urgent matters that I cannot explain in time. General, don't stop me. Speaking, Caoang rushed towards the entrance of the main tent. Jian Wei had a heart to stop, but when Caoang said it was urgent, coupled with Caoang only wearing armor and not carrying weapons, he did not genuinely stop. Instead, he followed Caoang to the entrance of the main tent. Jian Wei originally thought that Caoang would shout at the entrance of the large tent and report the urgent matter of 100,000 yuan. But never expected that what Caoang did in the next moment would make Jian Wei, a tiger general, open his eyes in terror. He finally understood what 100,000 urgent matters were. Chapter 7. Burning the Thief of Cao, Caoang, do you want to kill your father? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Outside the large tent, Jian Wei's eyes were wide open, and his eyes were frightened. In front of him, Caoang took a torch from the nearby campfire and directly lit Cao Cao's tent. Cao Cao's tent is made of thick felt cloth embedded with fur, which is very warm but also very flammable. This fire quickly spread like wildfire. The night breeze of January helped to ignite the fire, quickly burning half of the tent. And Caoang was still adding the campfire and firewood used for lighting to the spot where the tent was on fire, fearing that the fire might not be too strong. Young master, why is this? Stop it quickly. Jian Wei was in a hurry at the time, and if he lost his long spear, he would come to extinguish the fire. If it weren't for Jian Wei's knowledge of this eldest son, who has always been loyal, filial, and is the default heir of the Lord, one would probably suspect that Cao Ang is going to kill his father and usurp power. Negative energy from Jian Wei plus 10, negative energy from Jian Wei plus 20, negative energy from Jian Wei plus 99. At this moment, Cao Ang's mind also heard a system prompt sound. Cao Ang was taken aback, thinking that his first negative energy supplier would be the pit goods Cao Cao, who would soon be burned down. But I didn't expect it to be Jian Wei. It's not surprising to think about it. Jian Wei is the general responsible for the security of Cao Cao's residence. Now, in front of Jian Wei, Caoang has taken care of the master's account and failed the excellent bodyguard's defense work. Can Jian Wei have no resentment in his heart? Without pulling out the long halberd to attack Caoang, Jian Wei was already quite calm. If it were for Hu Chi Chu's simple-minded rammer, I'm afraid no matter what kind of young master Caoang is, he would have to draw his sword and strike. Of course, at this moment Su Chu is still in his hometown and has not invested in Cao Cao's account. The movement and heat of the tent burning quickly woke up Cao Cao and Mrs. Zhou, who were sleeping soundly in the big tent. Watching the tent burning high above his head, Cao Cao's eyes were filled with fear. Where is General Jian Wei? Someone is assassinating me. Cao Cao reacted quickly, drinking loudly while getting up from the bed. He didn't even bother to put on his clothes and ran barefoot outside the tent. As he ran out of the tent, Cao Cao paused slightly. First, he threw the helmet hanging on the hanger at the entrance of the tent, then rolled on the spot, and finally got out of the tent. From this, it can be seen that Cao Cao's treacherous nature is always on guard, even in danger. He didn't immediately run out of the tent, but first threw his helmet to test and rolled out from under the tent door without caring about his identity and dignity, just to prevent anyone who was assassinating him from guarding outside the tent and waiting for a rabbit. If he ran out directly, he would be struck by a sword. And outside the tent, Caoang also saw this scene, and his expression on the spot was somewhat exciting. Is this the true nature of a traitor? Even when running away, I don't forget to use a trick to test. I have learned it. But on second thought, Caoang sneered at this thought. I have golden soft hedgehog armor, and there will be more ways to save my life in the future. Why should I learn to roll around like this guy? Just as Caoang was thinking so, Cao Cao successfully rolled aside and got up, feeling that his eyebrows and beard had been scorched by the scorching heat. Just as he was about to call Jian Wei for help, he saw Jian Wei and his eldest son Cao Ang standing at the door of the big tent. And the military camp was relatively calm, with no assassins or anyone attacking the camp. Cao Cao's gaze shifted and he saw Jian Wei holding a burning torch in his hand, standing at the peak of the flames with some confusion. Jian Wei, did you set the fire? Are you going to assassinate me? Cao Cao's eyes immediately froze, filled with anger and a hint of disbelief. As a traitor, I am still very accurate in judging people. What kind of person is Jian Wei? Cao Cao knew very well in his heart that he was loyal to Cao Cao. How could he set fire to him? Besides, with the identity and strength of the commander of Jianwei Jingwei, if you really want to kill yourself, you don't need to set fire to the tent. You can directly enter the tent and kill Cao Cao in your sleep. If Jian Wei had ulterior motives, Cao Cao would not have entrusted the important task of ensuring the safety of the accommodation to Jian Wei. Rest assured. Therefore, Cao Cao just asked this question and still didn't want to believe it in his heart. After all, in the original history, Cao Cao did not have the habit of wanting to kill in his dreams in his early years. It was not until Jian Wei died in Wancheng that he lost his sense of security and dreamed of killing. It can be seen from this that Cao Cao trusts Jian Wei. Jian Wei, who was holding a torch in his hand, heard Cao Cao's question and said with a look of injustice, "It's not my lord, I just want to put out the fire and take out these burning things." "It's the young master, he set the fire." The accusation of burning the lord on fire was too great for Jian Wei to bear, and he immediately confessed Cao Ang. Cao Ang saw that he had been confessed, but he remained calm and had a calm expression. Jian Wei's heart became even angrier after watching it. Negative energy from Jian Wei plus 66, negative energy from Jian Wei plus 10, from Jian Wei. The negative energy kept refreshing, and Cao Ang's heart was almost bursting with laughter. In just a moment, Jian Wei and himself had provided over 500 points of negative energy. On the other hand, Cao Cao listened to Jian Wei's words and looked at Cao Ang, who had a calm face. He suddenly became even more angry and said, "It's impossible. How could Zhixio, the pronunciation of Zhixio, the character for Cao Ang, do such a thing? He doesn't believe it at all." Cao Cao knew that his eldest son was as loyal as his father, and he was very filial to him. He knew this very well in his heart. Even though Cao Ang couldn't bear the fact that he had accepted the Zhou family, the child was honest and didn't have much to do. He just had a heavy drink. These Cao Cao are all visible to us. So, for his eldest son, Cao Cao trusts him immensely. He didn't quite believe that Jian Wei would assassinate him, but he didn't believe that Cao Ang would do such a thing. Even when Cao Ang and Jian Wei were together, Cao Cao believed that Jian Wei had accidentally done this. Jian Wei felt even more depressed when he saw that the Lord didn't believe what he was saying. He looked at the harmless eldest son Cao Ang on the side, and his small grievances flew in his heart. Even now, Jian Wei is still a bit confused. He can't believe that the always honest and loyal young master would do such a thing. Doing such a thing is all that matters, but instead making oneself the object of injustice. Seeing that Jian Wei was about to be wronged to death, although Cao Ang enjoyed the negative energy points that Jian Wei had brushed for him in his heart, he couldn't pull the wool too far. After all, Jian Wei is an important general under the Cao family, and he has changed his fate. He will be useful in the future. What if Jian Wei harbors deep resentment towards himself and becomes hostile towards him in the future, unwilling to use it for himself? So Caoang spoke up and said, "Father, calm down. It's not about General Jian Wei's business." I did indeed set the fire. As soon as Caoang uttered these words, Cao Cao exploded with disbelief and a hint of incredible anger. "Zhou, why did you do this? Are you Caoang going to kill your father?" Chapter 8 Cao Cao realized. Setting fire to me is to. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Negative energy from Cao Cao plus 66, negative energy from Cao Cao plus 88, negative energy from Cao Cao plus 99, accompanied by Cao Cao's sentence, "Are you going to kill your father?" The system's prompt sound kept ringing in Cao Ang's mind. In just a few short breaths, I have already brushed Cao Ang for almost 1,000 points, more than Jian Wei's. Cao Ang's heart was filled with joy, but his face remained calm and he said seriously, "Father, calm down. The reason why I set fire to his tent is to save him and all the soldiers in the camp." At this moment, Cao Cao was in a state of anger. When he heard Caoang admit that he had set fire, his heart was filled with disbelief and complex anger. It is precisely because I do not believe that Caoang would do such a thing that I became even more angry when I heard Caoang admit it. Caoang said that setting fire to oneself was to save oneself. Even if Cao Cao was a fool, he probably wouldn't believe such words. So the resentment in Cao Cao's heart continued to refresh, breaking through 1,000 points. But the speed and quantity of refreshing are slowly decreasing. At this moment, Cao Cao covered his charred beard and looked at Caoang with a complex expression, waiting for his explanation. That expression was like if Caoang didn't give him a reasonable explanation, he would pull out his belt and become an expert in backhand techniques. Caoang saw that Cao Cao's negative energy gradually stopped refreshing in the system panel, and then he spoke calmly, "Father doesn't know that Zhang Xiu has harbored resentment and has been secretly plotting a rebellion. Tonight, the troops are ambushed outside, preparing to use Hu Chai'er as an insider to attack the camp at night. Fortunately, I noticed Zhang Xiu's conspiracy and didn't have time to consult her father. I took the initiative and used a counterplot to falsely pass on her father's military orders and mislead Hu Chai'er. Make him report to Zhang Xiu, thinking that our army has an ambush outside, and wait for the Chinese army to ignite the fire as a signal, then come and surround Zhang Xiu." There was a strategist named Jia Xu by Zhang Xiu's side, who was not easily deceived. He also sent Hu Chai'er to investigate the truth and falsehood. In order to strengthen Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu's intention to retreat and prevent them from being deceived, I had no choice but to light the big fire as soon as possible and pretend to give an ambush signal. In the camp, there was no time to build a beacon tower in a short period of time. Only my father's tent was the widest, and lighting a fire from a distance could reflect half of the sky red, meeting the conditions for lighting a fire. Even if Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu had some doubts about igniting this big fire, they would definitely not dare to take risks and would retreat decisively at this point. Cao Ang made a look of fear and said, "Now that this fire is ignited, our army's crisis can be considered solved. Otherwise, if Zhang Xiu were to attack the camp, our main force would not be present, and Zhang Xiu's soldiers would be brave and hastily engage in the battle, with some suffering severe damage and others being completely annihilated." Zhang Xiu, on the other hand, harbored a grudge against his father for accepting his aunt, Zhou Shi, and feared that his father was going against him because he rewarded Hu Chai'er with a large sum of money. Therefore, she must have come to attack the camp with the intention of killing her father. Once Zhang Xiu is killed, her father will be in danger. Therefore, I had to act hastily and take power, and had no choice but to do these things. If there is any violation of military law, please punish your father. After speaking these words, Caoang looked at Cao Cao with a loyal, filial, honest, and willing to be punished. After listening to what Caoang said, Cao Cao was immediately shocked and broke out in a cold sweat. he quickly sent a team of people to investigate. In his heart, he already had great trust in his eldest son, believing that Caoang would not do such a burning of his own father for no reason. In addition, with Cao Ang's words, Cao Cao linked Zhang Xiu's previous move to the campsite together, which made him realize later that Zhang Xiu had already done something wrong. Just because Cao Cao was obsessed with Lady Zhou's beauty at that time, and felt that Zhang Xiu was weak in character and would not rebel, he did not pay attention to Zhang Xiu's relocation at that time. Now it seems that I have indeed drifted away, careless. This made Cao Cao feel extremely scared. Of course, he knew that if Zhang Xiu really attacked the camp, the situation tonight would be very dangerous. It was not impossible for him to lose his life and the entire army. I kindly surrendered to Zhang Xiu, how dare Zhang Xiu do so? Cao Cao, drenched in cold sweat and with angry eyes, wished he could kill Zhang Xiu immediately. But it seems to have forgotten that the reason Zhang Xiu rebelled was because he was obsessed with lust and brought a green hat to Zhang Xiu's uncle quickly. The scouts returned and said, "Report to the Lord, Zhang Xiu's camp is empty and there are signs of personnel and horses being transferred." 3 miles outside the camp, footprints of people and horses were found, as if there were ambushes in the past. Tracking the footprints, we found a large group of people and horses walking south with messy footprints. Everything is consistent with what the young master said. After listening to the detective report, Cao Cao became even more afraid. He wiped the cold sweat off his forehead and looked at Caoang with a look of joy and a hint of relief, saying, "If it weren't for my son's detection of Zhang Xiu's conspiracy and his quick wit in deceiving Zhang Xiu, then it would be dangerous for both my father and the soldiers. Zhou did a good job." At this moment, Cao Cao, the old father, felt very relieved and even had a hint of surprise in his heart. Because Cao Ang's actions are impeccable in the eyes of everyone in Cao Cao's military strategy. The combination of the counter-plot and the empty camp plot accurately utilized Jia Xu's scheming and careful thinking, while Zhang Xiu dared not take risks, and deceived Zhang Xiu to retreat. It can be called a brilliant plan. Even Cao Cao himself felt that if it were himself, he would never have come up with such a good plan in a hurry. Faced with Zhang Xiu's attack on the camp, he had no choice but to abandon the main camp and flee in a hurry to save his life. Therefore, Cao Cao was also amazed by this plan. Moreover, this plan was conceived by his eldest son Caoang. All along, Cao Cao believed that his eldest son was loyal, filial, and of good character. As a child, Caoang is an honest child. However, as the heir, Caoang was more loyal and cunning, lacking flexibility, which often made Cao Cao feel regretful and worried in his heart. As a treacherous figure, he is well aware of the intricacies of human nature. Like Caoang, who inherits his own legacy in the future, he is easily deceived and deceived by others. But at this moment, Cao Cao felt as if he was wrong, as if he had never truly understood this eldest son. Except for Cao Cao leading Caoang to study and hunt in his childhood, in recent years, Caoang has been studying and practicing martial arts with Lady Ding in his hometown. Cao Cao, on the other hand, worked as an official and managed his own business in Luoyang. Later, he fled Luoyang but did not make much of his home. He had been fighting in the north and south since he participated in the rebellion against Dongjua, a vassal of the 18 route. It was not until last year when Caoang reached adulthood that he was promoted to filial piety and began to gradually take him with him. That is to say, in recent years, the relationship between Cao Cao and Caoang has actually been limited. In addition, Caoang has just come out for training, acted steadily, and remained silent. So Cao Cao really didn't understand the inner thoughts of this eldest son. Therefore, at this moment, Cao Cao only felt that he had taken a wrong look before and did not realize that his eldest son was quiet on the outside, but cunning on the inside. There was no dangerous situation before, so Caoang refused to show it. Until today, when he was in danger, the eldest son finally took action. Thinking of this, Cao Cao's heart immediately became even more relieved, with a sense of joy that someone would succeed him. Even the anger of Zhang Xiu's betrayal and the frustration of being burned by the fire were swept away. Well, although I was set on fire by my own son, it was all a matter of urgency and authority. My son set fire to my tent just to save me, Cao Cao thought happily and said. Chapter 9. The great filial son Cao Ang, the pot-carrying hero Cao Cao. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. It turned out that this was the case. The young master was clever and resourceful, saving the lord and the entire army. It is truly admirable. I misunderstood the young master and almost obstructed his important matter. Please forgive me, young master. At the same time as Cao Cao realized, Jian Wei also scratched his head and looked amazed. For Cao Ang, this young master, he looks at him with new eyes. Haha, although my family background of Cao Cao is not as good as that of Yuan Shao's 4 generations and 3 nobles, my son is much better than the other sons of Yuan Shao. During the critical moment of the army, Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu unexpectedly retreated with a clever plan, which can be said to be a brilliant one. At this moment, Cao Cao couldn't help feeling a bit proud when he heard his great general Jian Wei also praising Cao Ang. Cao Ang is his son, and his son is so excellent that Cao Cao's face is also shining. I even wish I could ride my face and show off in front of my good friend Yuan Shao now. Cao Ang's face did not show a happy expression due to the praise of Jian Wei and Cao Cao, but remained solemn and composed. In Cao Cao's eyes, this was a manifestation of whether he was restless or calm, and he also felt more and more pleased that his eldest son had great wisdom. In fact, Cao Ang's heart was filled with joy at the moment, and his calm face was just trying to suppress a smile. How refreshing! Having set fire to Cao Cao, he felt a wicked anger in his heart. Cao Cao, this cheap old man, still needs to be grateful to him. The feeling of being seen as a savior despite being the mastermind behind the scenes is really amazing. No wonder those cunning emperors and generals, no matter how dirty their methods are behind the scenes, have to pretend to be righteous on the surface. The feeling of deceiving others and keeping them in the dark is really amazing. This also strengthened Cao Ang's determination to maintain his loyalty, righteousness, and pure character in front of the world. After all, in the 400 years of the Han dynasty, the concept of filial piety had already deeply rooted in people's hearts. A filial character has great benefits for both reputation and future. The story of Kong Rong giving birth to a pair at the age of 4 has been widely spread, so Kong Rong was revered by scholars as the leader of Qinglu. Even as an adult, Kong Rong is hypocritical and aloof, with a particularly foul mouth and spraying people everywhere. But at the age of 4, Li's filial piety reputation protected him, to the extent that Kong Rong insulted Cao Cao multiple times in the future. Cao Cao didn't want to kill him directly, but instead endured it time and time again, and finally couldn't bear it anymore. The benefits of filial piety as a talisman can be seen. 100 years ago, Huang Xiang, a prominent official of the Eastern Han dynasty, also started his family due to the filial piety system. Huang Xiang is one of the 24 filial pieties in later generations. The Xiang, in the 3-character classic that reads, Xiang Jiuling, can warm the seat. The Huang family in Jiangxia originally had a low social status and belonged to a humble family. But when Huang Xiang was 9 years old, she knew that in winter, she would cover her parents with warm pillowcases, and in summer, she would be her parents taking a nap. She would use a fan to drive away mosquitoes, flies, and heat, so she became a great filial son praised by the world and became famous in the capital. At that time, it was called Jiangxia Huangxiang, unparalleled in the world. In the Han dynasty, as long as you were a great filial son and had a reputation for filial piety and righteousness, you could become a high-ranking official. The reason is that in this era, it is believed that a person who is a great filial son is a person with noble character. So being an official is being a clean official, and being a minister is being a loyal minister. Therefore, Due to the name of filial piety and righteousness, Jiangxia Huangxiang later achieved the Shangshu Ling and elevated the Jiangxia Huang family from a humble family to a prestigious and top-notch family. The Huang family of Jiangxia, which has been passed down for 100 years, is still a prominent family in the world. Huang Xiang son Huang Qiong and great-grandson Huang Wan have both achieved the position of Grand Commandant, one of the three princes. It can be seen from this that the people of the Han dynasty valued filial piety, brotherhood, loyalty, and righteousness. It can be said that loyalty and filial piety are the political correctness of this era. As long as you have this reputation, you can gain the admiration of the world and sufficient benefits. Do you not see that Liu Bei, because of the name of benevolence and righteousness, directly obtained Shuzhou for nothing after Tao Qian's death? Regardless of whether Liu Bei's benevolence and righteousness were true or hypocritical for a lifetime, at least they pursued benevolence and righteousness and also gained the loyalty of many civil and military officials who advocated benevolence, righteousness, loyalty, and filial piety. Guan Yu, Zhao Yun, Su Shu, Zhuge Liang, and Pang Tong were all outstanding figures, but they were devoted to Liu Bei. In history, when Cao Cao invaded Jingzhou in the south, hundreds of thousands of people from Xinye and Jingzhou followed Liu Bei across the river. They also followed Liu Bei in the name of benevolence and righteousness, and were frightened by Cao Cao's notorious slaughter of the city multiple times. Thinking of this, Caoang felt a bit helpless towards Cao Cao, this scam. If Cao Cao had no black history of slaughtering cities, the people of Jiangnan might not have resisted him. Even if Red Cliff failed in history, there may not have been a chance to conquer the south again and unify the world. At this time, when Caoang crossed over, Cao Cao had already slaughtered the city several years ago during his campaign against Tao Qian in Shuzhou, and his reputation was already established. Cao Cao slaughtered Shuzhou, causing the Zhuge family in Langye County, which was under the rule of Shuzhou, to move southward. At least Zhuge Liang's family would find it difficult to serve Cao Cao as a butcher. Alas, Cao Cao's reputation cannot be washed away. The loyalty, righteousness, and pure character of the Cao family can only be built by me in the future. Well, in the future, I will do all the good things for the Cao family, and all the bad things will be done by Cao Cao. Even if it's me who did it, I have to push the blame onto Cao Cao, that's all. My good reputation as Caoang must be well maintained. Jia. After the crisis was resolved, Cao Ang's thoughts also began to flutter, as he thought. If Cao Cao could see what Caoang was thinking at this moment, he was afraid of being filial to death on the spot by Caoang, this great filial son. He is an unparalleled traitor of Cao Cao. Will he become a scapegoat in the future? At this moment, a figure walked out of the burning tent. I saw that Zhou's face was somewhat disheveled. Although her hair was disheveled, her dress was still quite neat. It can be seen that even though the tent caught fire just now, Zhou still dressed neatly before coming out, and did not run out barefoot like Cao Cao, wearing pajamas. From this alone, it can be seen that Zhou Shi is a person with a strong and resolute personality, who values etiquette more than his life. Even if you risk being burned to death, you have to tidy up your clothes before coming out to meet people. Caoang had already seen the appearance of Zhou Shi in his original memory, and at this moment, he felt that Zhou Shi was indeed a beauty. Chapter 10. Discovering being deceived, Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu are numb. You are listening at novelfull.audio. However, although Zhou is beautiful, she is not too stunning. Under her beautiful appearance, it's hard to conceal the wrinkles around her eyes, without her youthful physique. After all, Zhou is Zhang Xiu's aunt, and Zhang Xiu is already in her 30s. When his uncle Zhang Ji died, he was at least 40 or 50 years old. Zhou should be a continuation of Zhang Ji, younger than Zhang Ji, but she also appears to be in her 30s and running towards 40. Therefore, Zhou Shi is quite similar to Cao Cao, who is 42 years old this year. But for Caoang, she was already an old woman. As a time traveler, Caoang was also accustomed to seeing various beautiful and mature women in the online age, and had already developed a certain level of aesthetic fatigue. He did not have much interest in Zhou Shi. Combined with Cao Ang's physical instincts, he strongly opposed the Zhou family, who had bent over to serve his father. Affected by the residual memories of his original body, Caoang did not look much at Zhou Shi. After all, this is also a poor woman. After her husband died, her nephew surrendered with his troops. However, he was favored by Cao Cao, even though he was reluctant in his heart. In order to survive the family, he had to bow down and serve Cao Cao, an old pervert. However, seeing Zhou come out made Caoang think of Zhang Xiu again. Although Zhang Xiu was withdrawn, now is not the time to rest assured. Thinking of this, Caoang looked at Cao Cao and said, "Father, we can't relax at this moment. Jia Xu and Zhang Xiu are not fools. Once they retreat to a safe place, they will definitely send someone to inquire about the presence of pursuers. If you discover that you have been deceived, it is difficult to guarantee that you will not lead an army to pursue you again. We must leave camp overnight and approach the main force of the army to prevent Zhang Xiu from making a comeback and falling into danger." Cao Ang's words are not impossible, but highly likely to happen. Even if Zhang Xiu ran away, he would definitely inquire about the movements of Cao Jun. Upon hearing Cao Ang's reminder, Cao Cao temporarily put aside his gratification of boasting about his son and said with great confidence, "Zhou is right." As a father, he almost forgot, but Zhou is not restless. Thinking about this so calmly, he really has the style of a great general as a father. Caoang listened to this in his heart and secretly roast. Narcissism, praise me and don't forget to put gold on his face, I have never seen such a brazen person. Order the entire army to immediately withdraw from the camp without any supplies, march lightly, and approach the troops of Duke Dun of the Imperial Palace. After narcissism, Cao Cao immediately ordered. Soon, the entire camp began to take action, and the troops withdrew in an orderly manner. At the same time, 10 miles south of Caoang, Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu, with their large army, had just retreated here. "Master, look. The direction of Cao camp is full of flames." At this moment, a soldier turned around and immediately pointed to Zhang Xiu behind him. Zhang Xiu turned around and felt a sudden tightness in her heart, grateful that she had not launched a surprise attack. It would be difficult to ignite such a large flame in a short period of time if it were not for the early accumulation of firewood, fuel, and oil as a beacon fire. It can be seen that Cao Cao really has an ambush. "Lord, hurry up and give orders to discard all supplies and materials. The army will retreat at full speed to avoid being caught up by the main force of Cao's army." At this moment, even the resourceful Jia Xu's pupils shrank, firmly believing that the Cao army indeed had the idea of ambush, and he said to Zhang Xiu. Even if Jia Xu broke his head, he wouldn't have thought that the big fire was not a beacon tower, but rather Caoang lighting up Cao Cao's army tent. Right, no more supplies. The whole army is retreating at full speed. When we reach the border of Jingzhou, we will ask Lu Biao for supplies. Upon hearing Jia Xu's words, Zhang Xiu quickly spoke up and gave an order. So, Zhang Xiu's troops from the Western Yang army immediately abandoned their supplies and walked lightly. The soldiers of Xiliang often rode on horses and light equipment, moving at a fast speed. After the rapid evacuation of the army in the middle of the night, by dawn, they had already moved 90 miles away from Wancheng. Many soldiers fell behind on the way, but fortunately, the main force of the army still survived. And not far ahead is Wancheng under the control of Lu Biao. Until then, Zhang Xiu finally breathed a sigh of relief and said to Hu Chair, "The front is already Rang City. You can always receive Lu Biao's support. The whole army will take a temporary rest. General Hu, hurry up and take a few capable scouts back to investigate and see if the Cao army has any pursuers chasing after you." Upon hearing these words, Hu Chair immediately took orders and left. In the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, it is said that Hu Chaer has infinite strength, can bear a weight of 500 pounds, and can travel 700 miles a day, which is obviously an exaggeration of the romance. But it is true that Hu Chaer has great strength and endurance. When walking, one can easily travel 200 miles a day, let alone ride a horse. However, Hu Chaer, who was supposed to come back soon, arrived late half a day later, making Zhang Xiu almost anxious. "General Hu, why have you been away so long?" Zhang Xiu had a somewhat strange way of speaking. "Lord, I will take someone back along the original path to investigate the sentinel. I have been exploring for 30 miles, but there has been no movement from the Cao army. So Mo will continue to explore all the way back outside of Wancheng. But I saw that the Cao army's camp was already empty, with supplies and tents, and even the flag was not raised, as if something had happened and they hurriedly left. On the contrary, Cao Cao's central army tent was burned to the point where there was no armor left and everything was in chaos." Hu Chaer reported his findings in detail to Zhang Xiu and Jia Xu. Until now, Hu Chaer never thought it was a trick, but only felt strange. Due to the seamless combination of Cao Ang's counterplot and air camp strategy, Hu Chaer had firmly believed in the fact that Cao's army had ambushes. After hearing Hu Chaer's report, Zhang Xiu did not react immediately. On the spot, Jia Xu let out a sigh and said, "Alas, we have been tricked. Cao Cao is not ambushing troops, but is bluffing." With Jia Xu's wisdom, he instantly understood the reason from Hu Chaer's intelligence. Awakened to the truth of being deceived. At this moment, Jia Xu, who usually had a calm expression, had a bitter smile on his lips for the first time. "That Cao Cao was using my many strategies and considerations to set up a combination of empty camp and counterplot. I wouldn't believe either of these two strategies if they were proposed separately, but when they were combined, with Caoang as the link, it also plunged me into the calculation. People all say that Cao Cao is treacherous. Today, I can be considered knowledgeable at this point." Jia Xu suddenly paused and felt something was wrong. "Ha! Although Cao Cao's nature is cunning, he doesn't want to put himself in danger. If the plan of the empty camp is not accepted by me and my lord, or if we are willing to let a side army test it, the truth and falsehood of the Cao army will be immediately exposed. With Cao Cao's temperament, he wouldn't risk the risk of failure with the lives of himself and his eldest son. If he had already realized that the Lord was about to attack the camp, the safest way would be to take advantage of the fact that the attack had not yet begun and secretly flee with Caoang and his confidants, leaving others here as a cover. Anyway, there aren't many soldiers and horses here, just a part of Cao Cao's army. Compared to Cao Cao's life, he is willing to bear it." Jia Xu lightly stroked his beard, instinctively feeling that this strategy would not be something Cao Cao could come up with. And the strategists around Cao Cao, Sun Yu and Cheng Yu, stayed behind in Shudu. Guijia suffered from a cold wind and was not in good health. Cao Cao also sent him back to recuperate a few days ago. It can be said that there are no grand strategists around Cao Cao at this moment. Moreover, even if Sun Yu, Guijia, and others were present, it was not like someone who could use such a dangerous strategy. Instead, it was more likely to suggest that Cao Cao secretly escape and protect himself first. Is it Caoang? At this moment, a name flashed through Jia Xu's heart by a strange coincidence. But then he shook his head again. Although he subconsciously told Jia Xu that Caoang was somewhat suspicious, Jia Xu thought carefully and felt that Caoang was a loyal and honest person. Compared to Cao Cao and Guijia, he couldn't possibly be the mastermind of this plan. Jia Xu was unaware that his subconscious had guessed the correct answer, but it was rejected by reason. On the other hand, Zhang Xiu doesn't care who came up with this plan at this moment. What he cares about is that he was deceived. Cao camp was really empty last night, there were no ambushes. Almost, Zhang Xiu was able to launch a night attack on Cao's camp, capture and kill Cao Cao, in order to avenge the loss of her ancestral tomb. But as a result, he fell into a trap and not only failed to seek revenge, but was also fled by Cao Cao. Moreover, he was so frightened that he even threw away many of his household supplies. Many soldiers under my command have also fallen out of the team, resulting in non-combat attrition. This time, it can be said that stealing a chicken is not enough to erode the rice, and we have lost Lady Zhou and lost our troops. Zhang Xiu's lungs were about to explode with anger. Cao Cao, Cao thief. Shame comes first, fraud comes second, I am at odds with you.